it was, I don't have any bizarre story around it. It's actually a very simple story, which is that I just made a list of names, and, you know, uh, not all the names were good, but I literally just took that list to my brother. I showed him the list, and he picked one which was already on my mind. So usually that's what I do. I'll have the one that I like, but I won't tell him. And then I'm hoping that he picks the one as well. So that's what, he picked the one that was most self explanatory, and, that's the one that stuck. And yeah, honestly, I just wanted a very simple, straightforward, self explanatory name. And Art and Found does that. We're literally finding art. And if you see the logo also, it's very simple. I just went with a type based logo. So that's how it came about.
How
Um,
how I can see it as a simplicity and creativity altogether.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Okay. Are you
I
able
have
to
the,
share?
yes, I have the presentation now. And, I'm just going to do a test, and you can let me know if you can see the slide.
Sure. Yes, it's
Okay,
visible.
great. So I'm going to go full screen now, and you can just tell me whether you can see the slides changing.
Okay.
Can you see it changing?
No, I think it's a PDF.
Yeah, but you can't see it changing,
I
right?
don't
It's like,
know. It's
okay,
not.
cool. So I think that's what happens when you go full screen. But uh, how about now? Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see slide number 5.
Okay, great. Now,
It's number 2.
okay, perfect. Good. So it's working. So let's get started. Okay,
Sure.
guys. So I would like you all to pull out your phones and Google India art or India design. Just pull out your phones or your laptops, go to Google, type in India art or India design in the search bar, and tap on images. So I'm just going to give you a couple of seconds to do that, and then we'll see what you have. Okay, so a lot of you might be seeing something like this on your screens, or you might be seeing something like this. So basically, when the world searches for India art or India design, this is what they see. Now, last year, I was lucky enough to go to two incredible cities because of my work, New York and San Francisco. So it was my first time to Silicon Valley. And no matter how cliche it sounds, for an entrepreneur, Silicon Valley is still the mecca for startups. Google, Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Tesla, Adobe, all these startups run out of Silicon Valley. And we use at least 5 out of these 6 brands. So that's saying something. What comes out of that one place in the Bay Area and San Francisco? So it's my first time. So I take a ticket, and after a 16-hour long flight, I finally get to San Francisco, and it's beautiful. It's sunny. It's just how I like it, and I'm super excited. And I'm doing so much, and I was actually there as part of a startup accelerator, and I happened to go to the Googleplex. I happened to check out a Tesla, and also was lucky enough to sit in it, and basically was doing a lot, attending a lot of festivals and art festivals, and these flea markets and stuff like that, and was just very active overall, consuming a lot, seeing a lot. And you would think that I would be like this kid, right? Super excited. But I was more like this, not quite impressed. So I'm thinking, okay, no problem. I have New York next. I love New York. I mean, I'm a city guy, so I should love New York. And, I'm really excited to get there. So, I take a red eye overnight flight from West Coast to East Coast, and I get to New York. And, it's beautiful, it's sunny, and it's just how you would imagine New York to be, with skyscrapers and excellent, skyline. And I even stay at this condo which gives me stunning views of the city. And I take a photo and it goes viral on Google with 10,000 plus views. And it also happens to coincide with the Ad Week New York, which is a week long festival of the advertising industry, celebrating the best of creativity, that I happen to attend as well. So, that was a bonus. Uh, Plus, I go to a lot of these, underground art exhibitions in Brooklyn and, in Manhattan. And it's all great. I'm just, consuming really cool stuff. So again, I should be like this kid, right? But unfortunately, I was still kind of feeling like this, not quite impressed. So I'm thinking, what's wrong? Because like, this is New York, this is SF, this is like the mecca of art and design and tech. So what am I missing here? Um, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought about back home. Um, India, Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, where a lot of uh, our small businesses and startups thrive out of, and I started thinking about the kind of work that we do, the kind of work I do with Art and Found. And, a huge part of my work is discovering new talent. And it's incredible, the talent that we have in our country, the creative talent. And what I figured is that the work that we do back home, the creative talent that we have back home, the kind of stuff that we are producing is as good, if not better, than what I'm seeing in New York or San Francisco. And, you know, I started thinking, why is the case that maybe I'm not quite impressed with what I'm seeing? And that's because I've seen a lot of amazing work back home, a lot of, amazing detailing and craft work and inspired by heritage, our rich heritage and stuff like that. And, from then on, for the rest of my trip, I just made it my mission to open up the Art and Found Instagram account to whoever I would meet, be it networking or, meeting with founders, CEOs, or, just anyone in general. And I would open up the Instagram page of artandfound.co, and I would just keep scrolling and just watch their reactions, just keep scrolling through all the beautiful art and just watch their reactions. And the reactions would be like, okay, wow, I love these, to, so you're from India? Are these artists Indian? From, this is some really cool shit, to, wait, where is Mumbai again? And of course, what everyone wants to hear, what everyone entrepreneur wants to hear, where can I buy all this stuff? To, obviously, how is your English so good? Because obviously we all speak like this guy, right? According to them. And of course, what they see in films that Danny Boyle produces, or stuff that they see in Slumdog Millionaire abroad, or even things like what Coldplay, Chris Martin puts out in his music videos, very typical of one would think about India. But I thought, look, it's not their fault. Like they are just seeing what the world is showing them. And I figured it comes down to this one thing: our marketing sucks. We're really good at jugaad and everything that has to go with our Indianness around that. But when it comes down to marketing, we're not there. We're really not there. And remember that having your work out in the world is a free education that goes on for a lifetime. I'll say that again. Having your work out in the world is a free education that goes on for a lifetime. And if you think your work is crap, remember 90% of it is. And speaking of crap, this was a campaign that was run in New York and LA and San Francisco and major cities, which is literally garbage of New York, packaged garbage of New York, 100% authentic, handpicked from the fertile streets of New York, which you could buy. Okay, $50 for original garbage, LA garbage, limited edition of 20, $100. The point is that it's all about packaging. How are you presenting? How are you packaging your work and putting it out there? Do good work. That's a given. We will all do good work. We will all strive to do our best work. But what's important is that we put it where people can see it. Remember that it's never been easier to put your work out there today. The previous generation didn't have Instagram or any of these platforms where they could easily put up their work and show it to the world. We have that. So use that opportunity. Today, it's very easy to do that, to put your work out there and use the world as a library for the feedback that you can get on your world, on your work. So I would encourage you to consistently do that. And if we don't, then this in the search results for India art or India design will not change to this. And if you guys can recognize some of the work, this is some of the amazing art and design work that's come out of India in the last 2 or 3 years. If on the top left, you can see it's Sacred Games, which was one of the best series to come out of India on Netflix. And if you guys remember the logo design, the identity, even the opening title sequence animation, it was just incredible. It was done in such a cool, abstract, geometric, minimal style. And it was more importantly inspired by mythology, which is in our values. And that's what it's about. Can we dig into what we have, what we know, and present it to the world in a cool, modern way? Next to it is Bharat Flooring and Tiles, one of the oldest tiles company in India. And, being so rooted, even today, the designs are so relevant and so fresh. On the rightmost is Levi's India, with whom we've done a project to showcase art on denim jeans and jackets, literally using the denim jeans and jackets as a canvas. We got 50 artists to do self-expression art on these jackets, and these were showcased to the world. Some of the best ones are at the Levi's office in Bangalore. Then, of course, we have the Elephant Parade. If you guys remember the Elephant Parade installation, which was a traveling installation throughout India. There is also a lot of wall mural art that Street Art India does in major cities around the country. Uh, there is, of course, the structural design of the Chhatrapati Shivaji International Airport, which you know needed a makeover, and the makeover was absolutely stunning. And then, of course, when you go inside, You have the GVK Museum. Literally, you're in the airport, which is one of the biggest art museums. And it's showcasing all the rich culture and heritage that we have. A lot of the art is of our, celebrating our traditional art. And, that's what it's about. We're showcasing our work to the world and putting it out where people can see it. And that's what it's about, guys. So if there was one takeaway from my talk, I would say show your work because the world needs to see it. Thank you.
Great, amazing message. Show your work because the world needs to see it. Guys, this is how we have been promoting. जो भी करते हो, you need to showcase it. If it's visible, it's good. People might like it, or you will learn from it. They will give you a feedback and then take a feedback and improve. So it's better to show it than rather than just keeping it to yourself. A piece, just coming to my mind, if somebody say a precious चलो ताजमहल लेते हैं, अगर ताजमहल किसी ने बनवा के अपने पास रख लिया होता एंड दुनिया को पता ही नहीं होता, तो how would that have been? You never know, you are creating such precious designs and you're not showcasing it. It was really wonderful, and looking at your journey, how you have come so far from uh, with your designs and your art. And yes, of course, home sweet home, home is always the best. So we are in the best country in the world. Mehta, Mr. Mehta, I'd like to go ahead with a couple of questions.
Sure,
Tell us
let's do that.
about the work culture, and how do you think, is there a set guidelines for a designer to do, say, 8 to 5 job, or is it like creativity and it can come out anytime, raat ko 12 baje, when you have something in the mind and you can do it? How, like, if you can tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think this is a very tricky question because it's very personal. Your working style is very personal to your personality, how you work by yourself, and how you work with people. And I think it's important to identify that and be self-aware of that. Um, so it's about finding your zone. Now, that comes with trying different things. For me, it recently, you know, came to me when I started waking up very early. I started my day at 6, and I figured that I thrive on routine. Like I need that routine and I need structure in my day to be able to perform at max. And that's been working for me. So then I've just stuck to that. Um, a lot of people might be night owls. That's when they do their best work. So I would suggest figure out what works best for you. Don't wait for creativity to strike. I think creativity comes from having a routine and getting into that mode. And I think finding your space, within that routine. And as I said, try a bunch of things till you're comfortable with what worked, and then you'll just stick to that.
So experimenting is really important.
Yeah.
And like one what is it called, one size fits all, but in designing it doesn't fit all.
Absolutely. I don't think this is a thing in creative industries for one size fits all. It's like my size fits me.
Yeah, right. And when I talk about creativity, it's not just limited to designing. It can be anything. It can be video creation. It can be anything. And when even we go up, talk about designing, it's not just graphic or paintings or architecture. Like there are several ways you can define a design. What is your definition to the design?
Yeah, I mean, design can be anything, right? Like, this mug that I'm drinking out of, which is from IKEA, and the simplicity of it, the product design behind it, the curvature, the size of it. It's just right. It's got the correct lid for me to take it, into my car for, go to coffee while I'm driving, doesn't spill. So, I mean, there's so many elements to keep in mind. And, it comes down to what you define, or what you learn, the values behind design. And I would suggest everyone to go watch this documentary called Rams. That's Rams. So it's on this designer named Dieter Rams, and he has incredible insights on what design should be based on. And there's everything from simplicity to how it works, to being honest, that it needs to come out of honesty, that you need to be able to be comfortable to what you have designed, and self-aware that is this something that I would want people to see or use. So there's principles behind good design. And even if you don't happen to watch the documentary, I would just recommend Google Rams design principles, RAMS design principles. I'll put it in the chat as well here. And just study that. And this is fundamental design principles on which people like Steve Jobs or Johnny Ive have been, building Apple as a brand. So that's really where the gold is.
Okay, great. Let's take live questions. And guys, I'll suggest please put in questions to the Q&A section, because chat section might, we might miss your question from there. So make sure your comments are coming in the chat, but your questions are coming in the Q&A section. So I have Payal Jain. Let's take her question because it's in the chat. Otherwise, we are gonna miss it. If suppose we have clicked some picture which is a bit funky, how can we caption that picture?
What do you mean? Like, what's the context? I didn't get it. Is it
I think she's talking about any picture being designed or clicked to be added on social media. How do, like, you give a caption to your art that you have created? I think
yeah.
she wants to know how to caption if it's a little funny.
Yeah, I think it depends obviously on the context on the image, but when it comes to writing, a lot of your writing will come from your personality. And then it's about how can I use that to put across what I want to communicate for, whatever, if it's the image or if it's a brand I'm building or if it's a company or whatever. So you almost sort of have to merge what is my person. Like, am I a funny person? Am I naturally like quirky? Am I naturally sad? Or, and then what is the personality I want to give to the company or the brand or this image? And that's where you sort of then come for to a middle ground, because like what's going to come within you is going to be honest and real, and what you want to project for what you're writing for is going to be what you're putting out there for your audience. So what's going to come from you is real, and what's going to be for that entity is going to be what's expected of your audience. So you sort of have to like come to a middle ground where it works. So take it from like an honest perspective, and you'll get there.
Yeah, so writing is also a kind of creativity, like an art. So we had a creative writing session also. We have it last week, and it was a wonderful session on creative writing as well. So when you need to write also something, you need to be creative. So creativity is everywhere important, and that's why we have our creative me campaign going on with hashtag creative me. So guys, you can showcase your creativity, add it on social media with hashtag creative me, tag Media and Entertainment Skills Council and Vidyadaan. Okay, let's proceed. I have question from Mr. Muhammad Rashid Iqbal Siddiqui ji. He's from Jharkhand. He's saying, my question is that how can a designing is important for a media person to work her job more perfect ways, like the importance of designing in media.
The importance of designing in media. Yeah. So no. So by media, specifically
I
news
think
media, or
I, if I know him correctly, I think he's into journalism and mass comm.
right. So I mean, I'll just talk generally, about design for media. So design has power, right, to create awareness, to convert strong messages into simple communication via visuals. So it's about how can I use that? How can I use the power of design? And that comes down to being able to break your communication into simple visuals for your audience to be able to interpret it. So think of it like a catalyst, right? You want to break down a complex message in the most simplest manner. And I'll give you an example of what we did during this pandemic. So since the lockdown, as a curator, Art and Found wanted to use the power of design to
Okay.
be able to contribute positively to the situation. So we came up with a campaign called Design Fights COVID, which basically got together the creative community of designers, illustrators, photographers, and we got them to create art and designs for the NGOs who are fighting out there, who needed funds. A lot of NGOs are building personal protective equipment, or they're feeding stray animals, or they're helping migrant workers, or a lot of them are also helping old age people, or domestic violence cases they're looking into. So the idea was, can we give them a voice using design? And we put this call for entries out, and artists submitted their work, and we had tremendous response, and the traction was huge, and we got so many entries that we basically helped to put out and give them a voice to help them raise funds. So it's about what can you do, and what's in your control, and what can you leverage, the resources that you have, the people and how can you bring that together to create a positive impact in the world.
Okay, great. And such a nice thing. Like you have been helping the people who are actually helping the society. So it's wonderful,
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yep. Another one, I have it from, okay, the name is not mentioned, but okay, yes, Palak. But Palak, I'd like to mention when you register, you need to enter your name so that you are able to get your certificate easily. Palak is saying, "Hi, I'm Palak and I write," which I think is a beautiful form of art. Of course, it is. There is a little thing that often puts me off, that people think writing and designing are different. Do you think visual art and writing goes hand in hand?
Absolutely, I believe so. um, Coming from advertising, I have seen copywriting lose value over time. There was an era where long copy ads used to be celebrated, and there was an art to writing long copy ads, or like even snappy headlines. Like Economist has an era of snappy headlines, so smart, so intellectual. And I'm seeing that diminishing in the advertising industry. I don't know what industry you are in, but I mean, I would not worry about any of that. I would just worry about being true to my writing, being true to my craft. And I think you raising that question tells me that you really care about it. And I would encourage you to just, keep going, put your craft, put your work, put your writing out there in the best way possible. Find the medium that works for you. Maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's Medium, or, maybe it's Twitter. And, just keep putting it out, and just be true to it. And do not think it's undervalued at all. You know, think it's of the highest value.
Okay, great. So I think Palak must be happy with her answer. I have Somi Datta from Kolkata. She's saying, I run a jewelry shop here As you have mentioned importance of design in packaging, how can I put design in packaging a jewelry, for example, a finger ring box? That's a very practical question, I must say.
Yeah, so again, it comes down to, really understanding and being honest with what are the values behind your brand. So if you can list down even 3 to 4 values behind your brand, it can be sustainability, it can be minimal design, it can be ostentatious design. um, and once you list that down, then you'll have a direction of what I want to show visually to my consumers, my audience, or my potential consumers. And then that's where you will start iterating, what is the look I want to create for the packaging? What are the themes that I want? Is it going to be love? Is it going to be young love? Is it going to be eternal love? And that's basically going to give you a very strong direction and clarity as to how I want my packaging to look. And then it's simply about adapting to, do I want a box or a pouch or, a cloth bag or whatever it is.
Okay. Dhruv wants to ask, which is the software that you use for graphic design?
Photoshop, Illustrator, that's pretty much what I use. But I know there's many out there now. A lot of photographers use Lightroom. A lot of 3D artists use SketchUp. Probably not SketchUp, but they use a bunch of them like Rhino and uh, Cinema 3D and 3D Studio Max and stuff. Yeah. Uh, Also, I know a lot of artists and illustrators who use the Wacom bamboo tablets. So, that's something that you can get onto as well. And of course, if you want to move on to motion graphics, there's After Effects. That's a great one to learn. So, if you can get onto that, I would suggest to do that to skill up during this lockdown and learn new softwares that can give you more, a higher skill set as a designer.
Okay, great. Dr. Shivam Gupta is asking in design art principle of animation. Is it important or not in 2D animation and 2D abstract? Design art principle in 2D animation or 2D abstract?
In design, art principle of animation is important or not?
I think, yeah, of course, the principle of designing is important in, and
Yeah,
when, yeah, it's
I think storytelling is more important in animation, uh, and the design aspect literally comes from the technique or the style that you want to apply to be able to tell that story. I'll just give you an example of a short animation Oscar-winning film called Dear Basketball by Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest basketball players. And he created a short film called Dear Basketball, which was heavy on storytelling because he wrote that himself, and it was basically his journey or almost like his dialogue with the game of basketball, which was his life. And he started writing that, which then went on to become an animation, and the design or the style of that animation was much later. So it's always deriving from storytelling. That's how you want to captivate your audience, and then the way you present it can be any style.
okay. Akash Purohit. I have many questions coming in. Rather, similar questions are coming up. Like the same question is being asked by multiple people. So I'll just pick one out of those.
Sure.
Akash Purohit is saying in graphic designing, colors are very important. And I think for any kind of designing also. But they are hard to understand. Can you give some advice on color theory? How should we learn color theory?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of resources to actually understand color theory. I would suggest look at brands who have gone through logo transformations. For example, if you look at Airbnb and how it transformed its logo over time till they got to the one that's there now, the Belo that's there currently.
Yeah.
or even Google, how they came about to using these specific colors in the final logo, or how they keep transforming their logo, every time there's like an anniversary or some celebrity or some icon's birthday or like a festival, you see on Google they keep changing their logo. And I think uh, understand why they've done so, and what are they trying to communicate using colors. So if you'll see the breakdown of Airbnb logo, or if you'll see Zara recently also really squished the letters together and tightened their kerning, which is the spacing between the letters. And there's reasons as to why they do this, and they'll always put the breakdown, usually the designer will put the breakdown in a blog post somewhere. And I would suggest, go and see why they have done so. A lot of our Indian design firms also, who've cracked iconic logos like, let's say, Airtel or Bajaj, uh, or any of our homegrown companies. And somewhere on their blog or somewhere they might have put a breakdown and explaining why the font, why the spacing, why the sizing, why the colors. So that's where you'll get your gold on color psychology.
Okay. And it's good to learn color theory because I think it can help you in photography, in all kind of arts, even when you
Absolutely. Yeah.
in
I
or
mean,
every kind of art. Yeah.
it has an emotional connect. Color has an immediate emotional response. So it's actually a great skill to learn. So it's a good question.
Okay, great. Let's take another live question. I am getting this question five. I've got this question at least 5 times. I'm telling you.
Which
Um,
is,
how can I improve my design skills?
yeah, consume a lot, consume everything, look at everything, and if it makes you feel good, ask yourself what parts of it makes you feel good. If it makes you feel bad, not bad, but like, not impressed, ask yourself why. The second one is very important because you want to identify what you don't like about it, and then consciously or subconsciously you want to avoid those things. And the stuff you like is what you'll gravitate towards, what your subconscious will gravitate towards. So what you want to do is consume everything, good, bad, whatever craft you're in, writing, films, art, design. Watch a lot of documentaries by iconic designers who break down design principles. I just mentioned one earlier, Ram's principles. And that's what you want to do, basically. Just become a sponge. And gradually you will develop your style, which you'll be confident about.
Right. So practice, practice, practice to be better. Acha, Aditya ji, tell me one thing. When you are learning, ठीक है, एक तो हो गया formal learning, which is when you go to school and everything. एक हो गया आपका self learning. So, although I have question is formal learning education or formal education in design important to build a career in the field. But I'd like to take your view on formal education and self learning. Also, this question if the formal education in design is necessary to build a career in that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I didn't go to design school, so I'm not sure if I can talk much about from that perspective. I went to, I studied media and communication, so I didn't study art or design so much. A lot of that was self-learning, and not even art. Like, I mean, I don't do art, I run an art company, but I don't do art myself. I'm more of, a curator or somebody who's built a business on an idea. That's how I see myself. Um, but definitely, I mean, formal education is good to get the fundamentals in place, to know and to study history and to understand the dynamics, of shifting industries future. But once you've graduated, that's when most of the work happens. That's when most of your connections will happen. Your relationships will build. Uh, that's when maybe you might throw out what you feel like you have learned and relearn. It's almost that process of going through unlearning and then discovering what actually matters to you and what actually works for you. A lot of experimentation, because when you're in the real world, there's a lot of factors that you can't control, and that's where the game is, where you need to play with. you know in a educational institution or formal education, you're still in a controlled environment, where it's safe. But when you're out in the real world, there's so much that you need to, play your cards right, your moves, decision making. A lot of that comes into play. Um, so there's nothing like, what would I give more merit to? It's just a progression that you do your formal education if you have to, if you want to, but then, the real education will begin when you're out in the real world.
On job training and the practical thing
Absolutely.
that you
Yeah,
learn from.
and like so many resources. Like I'm still learning. Every day there's so many resources available now. Like webinars, live sessions throughout this entire lockdown. I mean, if you're not learning during this lockdown, I mean, you're missing out on time and building value for yourself. So if you're not doing that, if you know friends who aren't doing that, you want to encourage them. Now is the time. And kudos to all you guys who are attending these live sessions and webinars and educating yourselves.
Yes, absolutely. Spending time towards education is investment
Self
towards
learning,
education always pay, and
self learning.
investment
That's
of
it.
time is the best investment, I
Yeah,
think, for the
exactly.
life.
I mean, think about it as compound interest on yourself.
Right.
Little by little. And then 10 years later, you won't recognize yourself. You'll be like, what? I am that smart? Yes, because you're gonna put, little by little time to build your value, to build your skill set, and that's where you want to get to, you know?
Right. Even the same ऐसे ही हमारे Vidyadaan has a culture of creating a guru shishya thing back, and
Yeah,
motive is the same, that you learn from the experience. Like whatever we are learning is from your experience. You must have not received it when you were on the journey, but our students or people who are watching it, they are getting experience from what you have, you know actually learning
absolutely.
from someone else's experience is the best thing, I'd say. You're learning
Absolutely.
something without any risk of a loss.
Yeah. And, consume whatever you want, but take it with a pinch of salt. You have to, at some point, be able to understand what works for you. So take your notes, keep your ears open, but build your own structure, build your own model that works best for you, that's
Right.
unique for you.
Okay, I'll take one more question. How do you foresee the evolution of design industry in next 5 years, or say post COVID situation, in another 6 to 12 months, or if you, and then the future thing?
Yeah, so I'm quite optimistic post COVID for a comeback for design and art. And I believe this because right now there's been a lull period where there hasn't been much movement in work, or there hasn't been much incoming work for creatives and freelancers and designers. Obviously, because brands are very skeptical about spending their money because there's not going to be ROI coming in. So I feel post COVID there's going to be a surge in consumption. People getting out, being able to spend, wanting to spend, and then that's where brands who have been sitting on these budgets that have not been touched is going to get out, and it's going to get out fast and hard. And that's why I feel like, be ready for the work and use this time right now to build your skill set, to acquire new skills, so that when work does come in 6 to 8 months, you're ready to take upon whatever comes at you. Oh,
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry.
sure. That's okay.
I was saying तैयार रहने के लिए you have to be ready कि आगे what future holds for you. You never know that the thing that you have been learning during the lockdown is in demand post COVID situation. So
Yes,
with this positivity, I'll just take one more question because I know you have a lot of things to do. And do you think digital art has transformed today's world?
absolutely. I mean, it's transforming it every day, how we communicate and what we consume. Uh, I'm going to be doing a digital virtual conference that's going to be driven by art, for artists and designers and architects and stylists, in the creative industries. And we're basically holding this conference virtually on air, with an ecosystem built around it. So 100%, I would put my money on digital art, digital design for the future. I mean,
Art,
if you
art,
look at, yeah,
yeah.
just to give you an example, if you look at what's happened with Instagram, I mean, the amount of, usage and the amount of time spent on Instagram. And we all know why we keep spending more and more time. It's because Instagram has been so smart to introduce features of digital art, from the filters to, stories. And like, they just introduced a new feature as well. I forgot what it's called, but it's kind of like, because TikTok has shut down, Instagram has introduced something similar for users to be able to make videos now, 15-second videos.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing.
So this is what the boom of digital art can do. And who would have thought, like, a couple of years back, 5 years back, that would Instagram still be, going as strong? But it's stronger than ever. And brands, consumers, everyone's spending so much time on it. And it's because, the people running it have been smart to be able to introduce things for you to spend more time. And this is all driven by digital art.
Yeah, right. And we'll take question of Aarti Thakur. Aarti is saying, how can we make best of writing and designing both for better storytelling? Uh, she's saying, I do write as a hobby, but I am into designing as well. So, if you have a suggestion for her.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great skill to have, to be able to write and design. Usually, comic artists who can do both, uh, or cartoonists. But yeah, I mean, if you can, build on your craft till you get feedback which you feel is pushing you to put out more and more, uh, and for you to stick to that one style, or that illustration style or design style that you've cracked. And obviously you keep improving on it, but there's one style that you maybe want to put out. So if you're like writing, let's say short form poetry, but you also want to have like illustration, with that, what is that style? Is it minimal? Is it single line drawing? And once you're able to crack that, you want to start putting it out. But yeah, I would suggest still take it from writing first. So put your primary as writing, and then let design be the supportive visual for it, because unless you're doing comic art or cartoons, you're not you're going to be able to only make one audience primary, the reader audience. If your writing is going to be better than your drawing or your designing, you're going to attract the reader audience first, and also depends as what that is. As I said, like, is it poster art? Then it's obviously, attracting more of the design and artist community. Or if it's poetry, it's going to attract the writers and readers community. So I would say, like, let make one the primary and keep the other secondary, but make sure they, balance and bounce off each other and support each other.
Okay, great. Uh, Last question. Sorry, I think I can continue if you have time.
Sure. I do, that's fine.
Oh, great, great, great. I'll still take. How do you empower a creative designer to become a creative entrepreneur? Because I think media industry हमारी जो है इसमें entrepreneurs are more, and when you have that skill, you know, you show your creativity, you know you can do it, and you can do it something different than others can. So how do you encourage a designer to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, good question. A lot of self-learning for things that you have not learned, um, which you'll need to make a business out of it. Um, Personally, I dived a lot into memoirs, books written by founders, CEOs who built their companies. Um, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight is one of my favorite ones. The Nike founder, his journey. Uh, Elon Musk, there's Steve Jobs, Apple, there's the Alibaba autobiography. So these were some of the books that I started reading because I wanted to get an insight into the minds of these people, and they may not have been necessarily from a creative background, but for me as a creative person, it was giving me insight into a business person's mind. And of course, there's so many, documentaries and shows that you can consume and, make your own notes and learn. And then there's, specific books, uh, blogs, articles, etc., that you can, simply Google and understand. But in short, it is about self learning. It's almost like giving yourself an MBA, but it's better than an MBA, because it's like I'm picking and choosing what I need to learn, which is within the framework of what I want to do. So identify that, and then you'll know what you need to read up on.
Great, great, great message. And yes, any suggestion, any advice, a piece of advice you'd like to give to the designers sitting around and watching this session?
Yeah, I mean, I already gave the piece of advice in my presentation, which is show your work. But I would say, uh, you know, if you're going to start something, or if you're thinking of starting something, the best way to go about it is to go for it. You're never going to be ready. And when you go for it, you're literally putting yourself on the line and you're committing to it. So then you have to keep the momentum going. So automatically you'll get into the mode where you will commit hours to it, you'll commit time to it, you'll know whether you're cut out for it or not, whether you want to do your own thing or you're better in a job. So the earlier you start, the better it is. And don't be afraid to you know talk to everyone, to discuss your ideas with everyone. you know we have this thing about, like, what if I tell my idea to someone and they steal it? And I mean, don't worry about that. Ideas are plenty. Execution is what matters. So go out there and build your stuff and talk to people. And I would also say, listen. Talk to everyone, but don't listen to everyone. What I mean by that is that you can have discussions, you can have talks with anyone you want, uh, but you don't need to necessarily take everyone's advice. You want to take everything with a pinch of salt. You want to break it down, understand what works for you best, and then take it from there. And uh, one last thing I would like to talk about is fear. There's a lot of fear of failure that we all have. Um, Tackle failure as something that doesn't exist, uh, because it's something that we've been conditioned upon, how we've been brought up, or in our society. um, so fear is something that you want to see as, if it happens, I'm going to learn from this and be able to do something better the next time. If I fail today, I'm going to learn from it tonight. I'm going to analyze what I feel that. How can I be better than that? I got tomorrow to go back to it. So develop that mindset around fear, and then you have nothing to lose.
Great message. कहते सुनो सबकी करो अपनी.
Yeah.
चलिए इसी के साथ I'd like to say thank you so much for your time. We had a lovely session and I've been getting the chat. You can even see it. There are people saying nice session, informative. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
yes, I'll go with your lines that show your creativity, show your things. And guys, we are coming up with virtual dancing star show. Here you will be judged by celebrity dancer Mr. Suresh Mukund. Indian dancing, there was a dance plus show and he was a judge. He's been a judge with Remo Fernandez and he is director of Kings United. So be ready to be with us on dancing, virtual dancing star. So, and be a dancing star, show your creativity. I'd like to mention about our upcoming webinars also. We have one tomorrow by Mr. Amit Chetri. Mr. Amit Chetri will be discussing more on coral photo mirage. So let's learn from him and keeping the legacy. We are coming up with Ms. Toril Cove. She's an Academy Award winning director and animator. And you know what? To discuss with him, we have none other than Mr. Kirat Khurana, who himself is an award-winning director and a storyteller. So it's going to be an amazing session on July 18th. Yes, creativity is very, very important. We have been discussing, and that's why we have hashtag Creative Me. With Creative Me hashtag, you can put in your creativity, your films, your videos. Like हम बात कर रहे थे ना, TikTok अभी चला गया है, so you can put it on social media with a tag, with the hashtag Creative Me, and we will show it to everybody. You can share your experience, your feedback, your what you have learned during this session also with the same hashtag. Makeup, hair, prosthetics. We have fields from makeup to a film director. So any field of media and entertainment, we would love to hear from you. Animation, VFX, whatever your show reel is, whatever you want to showcase, please show your work, show your creativity. And yes, don't miss out. Visit our website for the information on upcoming sessions. And yes, start with your dancing shoes. Get ready because auditions for the virtual dancing show are opening soon. And I would like to tell you it's opening in just 2 days. Yes, 12th January, 12th July. I'm sorry, I think मैं बिना COVID वाली situation में चली गई हूँ. I want things to be normal. So 12th of July, we will have the registrations opening for virtual dancing star show. So keep visiting our website for the information, register for the upcoming sessions. Stay safe, take care. We'll see you tomorrow. And thank you so much, Aditya ji. We really had fun and we have learned a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Great
Bye bye.
session. Thank you.